Hello guys, this is Avcoor, back with some more Final Fantasy Ever Crisis content, and I'm really glad to share this with everybody who hasn't heard about it. We're getting a new crossover, and this opens up a lot of possibilities and potential for this franchise because honestly, they needed something like this. So let's watch the video, and we'll talk on the other side. So, the crossover event is actually going to be from the Final Fantasy franchise itself. It's actually going to be Final Fantasy 9, and I'm really excited about that for the simple fact there are better franchises, and I'm glad that they're going to, in my opinion, get the weakest franchise out of the way. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. So we have Final Fantasy 8, which I think is going to be lit. Final Fantasy 10 with Titus. We got Final Fantasy 6 with Terra. We got Final Fantasy 4 with Cecil. We have Final Fantasy 1 with Warrior of Light. So for that, I'm really excited. One thing I want to share with you is some people said that why didn't we just get Zidane or Dagger or Vivi? I really do like Vivi. I am one of the biggest Vivi fans you'll ever see. But the thing is, if you bring another character into the fold, you actually have to develop that character and constantly give them weapons, and that'll take up too much space. I like the idea that we have a lot of Final Fantasy VII characters, and we can just skin them with different skins and weapons from other games. So maybe we come back to this, and Aerith actually gets a staff from Dagger, which would be pretty cool, or Zack gets a sword from Steiner. I think that would be really awesome. So I like the fact that they didn't bring new characters into the world, but they brought parts of the world into the Final Fantasy VII franchise. I think this is the best way to progress. So let's talk about some of the details that you may have missed. And since I'm a Final Fantasy 9 player, I'm actually a Steiner and BB player. I really didn't like the game. I like BB and Steiner. That's why I played it. I suffered through it for BB and Steiner. So here we know we're gonna fight black mages, so get ready to have magic defense. We have that with Cloud, we have that with Aerith, and we have that with Lucia, so we're good there. So looking at Cloud's weapon and his overall costume, his costume comes from Zidane, the worst main character in history. I think this guy's story was absolute garbo. Even the fact that you found out that he was an otherworldly being or whatever, he was just a little douche to me. So I really didn't like this character. But since I played it, I know what weapon immediately that I saw, and it was Zorlin shape. You can actually tell this is Zorlin shape. It looks just like Zorlin shape. So yeah. So Cloud actually gets Zorlin shape, and he gets Zidane Tribal's costume. But Zorlin shape was a pretty sus weapon anyway, so it wasn't really that good. It's like second highest attack, the weaker side of Zaiden's weapons, because Zaiden's best weapons actually are the double bladed spears or the thief swords or whatever they call them. They got way more attack, so to me this weapon is kind of sus, but it looks good in Cloud's hands. So we see this attack and it doesn't look elemental to me. So Cloud actually has a healer set, he has a water set, he has a lightning set. So what is this? Could it be a magic attack? Which I would just absolutely hate. I absolutely hate the fact that this would be a magic attack because all his weapons are physical attack, and they made that with Sephiroth, and it makes Sephiroth a better DPS, but it makes him a more expensive DPS. And I hope they don't do that. I hope this is like a physical attack that does the same thing like Zack's weapon, that it lowers defense, it gives a breach, and then he can deal damage from the material slot or something like that. I just hope it's not magic, but it looks like magic to me. But then again, when you look at Zayden, understand that Zayden was a terrible character, but as a unit, he was really good because Zayden had tons of little tricks in his kit that he didn't just do damage. In his trance, he was like a mega DPS, but as a regular character, he had all sorts of little tricks and stuff that made playing him better than like watching him as a character. So I hope they give that to Cloud. So hopefully this weapon is good. So we see Tifa here, and look at her costume, and this is Amaret. Amaret's like, to me, like the third favorite character. It was Vivi Steiner, then this guy. So he was a thief class slash fighter. He had steel and he had chakra. He could heal himself and he had aura. He had a couple of good skills. He was actually a solid character. I think he wasn't as good as hmm. I, I think Echo was actually one of the best characters because she was like a super dedicated healer. So he was all right. I think he was mid tier. I think this dude was mid tier. So that's where she gets her costume from. You can see she has dreads in her hair that is actually representative of Emirate. So I thought that was cool. So when you see her weapon, this is actually dual claws, which is like second to the last best claws in the game. So it wasn't that bad. Rune claws is better, but this had berserk on it, so I don't know what they're gonna do with this. But it looks like a magic attack to me, and that's what upsets me. This looks like a magic attack to me because it's like a magic blast, but I don't know exactly what it does. But it doesn't seem elemental. It doesn't seem like it has an element on it, so I don't know what's going on there. It doesn't have an element on it, so that's confusing to me. But we know that Tifa's like hands down one of the best characters in the game. What if this is another debuff? If this is another debuff, then I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be good. And they do their elemental attack. So yeah, it looks good. It looks good, but there's a couple of complaints I have. First complaint: did it really have to be Tifa in Cloud? Cloud has one, two, three, four costumes now. Cloud has four costumes. Tifa has one, two. She has two costumes, so Tifa's fine. Tifa's fine. It's fine that Tifa got a costume. And she's a popular character, and Cloud's a popular character. They were down money last month, so this may be them recouping their losses. I would hate to think that this crossover was promoted by sales, but business is everything, and mobile games now are a really huge and thriving business. So this makes sense to me. The logic behind it makes sense to me. But the fact that they did this is pretty freaking cool because it opens a lot of paths for a lot of characters. Hopefully, just me, hopefully, hopefully, I can see my man Barrett in a Steiner costume. That's all I'm asking. If you give me that, I will well for that. I would love to see Barrett in a Steiner costume. Heck, if they give Matt a Kiros costume, I would will for that. Just saying, these are some possibilities. The second gripe I have is, ugh, I don't really like Final Fantasy 9 as much, but I hope they bring something to the table that will excite us all. And the third thing is we're getting these back to back. I mean, we had the October one, then they dropped the Zack. Hopefully they get a solid schedule so we can manage our funds better, so we can actually purchase some of the stuff that they're offering. So for me, that's a couple of gripes. But there's one last thing I want to share with you, and I think this would make this whole crossover lit. Here's my pitch to you guys. Who do you think would be the best boss, final boss for this crossover content? Who do you think it is? I'll give you a minute. No, I'll give you a couple of seconds. All right, this is my idea. It will be so lit if we get Ozma as a Crash boss. If we can get Ozma into the regular boss pool, how cool would that be? Ozma was one of the greatest challenges in all Final Fantasy history. Please, I would like to end the video on this. Please, oh please, devs, if you're listening, put Ozma in. Put Ozma in, man. That would be so lit. We don't need Kuja. I thought Kuja was a trash villain. I don't like Kuja. He looked like a woman. Ozma was the king, man, of boss battles, and it'd be so freaking cool if they put Ozma in. That's all I'm asking. But if you like my content, hit the like, share, subscribe button, and share the idea of us having Ozma as a final boss. I would love you so much. Have a great day, and laters.